We're here today at Mount Tussauds, and we're actually hanging out with poor Catherine Eddowes over here. Um, she was one of Jack the Ripper's victims, and she was not done very nicely, as you can see. And then we're actually in the Chamber of Horrors, and so there's a guillotine, and there's people being hanged while we do this interview. It's very frightening and unsettling. I was just hoping we could create characters that people, enjoyed watching. We could tell a good story. Chris actually approached me about doing a Tara and Willow comic for Dark Horse, and we ended up doing 3 of them. So, and Chris is a doll. He's a lot of fun to work with, so. I just realized that like we had our work cut out for us. There's so much to do. I mean, instead of being like a small comic that really, you just had a couple of lines of dialogue here and there, you really had to focus on character and create people that were compelling, that people enjoyed watching, that were funny, that were human, that were dramatic, that had arcs. And so that I think that was what was really tough for Chris and I both, was to create a handful of characters that were not just flat two-dimensional people, that they could be real people as well. So we worked really hard to bring it to this level. It's a lot like theater. So coming from a theater background, I realized that we just had to focus on getting good performances and not worry about you know I mean, there's just so much to worry about, and I just realized I have to let it all go and just really focus on the actors and getting good performances, and half that is in the casting, and we're putting together a really amazing cast. I like the characters. It's easy to have someone being chased by a giant werebeast, but you have to make them interesting so that people, feel for them while they're being chased. And if you can't create somebody that you're rooting for, then you're not, unless you're creating, a villain, you're creating a non-sympathetic character. So unless you're creating a sympathetic character that people can relate to, they're not going to care whether they're being chopped up or not. We have a couple of people who are taken over by demons, and we tried to sort of keep a little bit of the character to them, but with the others, we really we were going for generic, fun, scary things. We wanted to make it fun. Well, I love Preston Sturges. I'm a big fan of his, and Stanley Kubrick stuff is amazing. Um, I think as a writer, you read Dostoevsky and he deals with character, and that's what I'm interested in. And you read Tom Stoppard's plays, and he deals with character with an intellectual kind of slant, and that's really interesting to me, and it's very compelling to me when I read it. So those guys, kind of, visually and I guess aesthetically and literary minded wise, literary wise, they're inspiring to me. I've been acting for 11 years in Los Angeles, and so just being on sets. In fact, by the time I got to Buffy, I'd been on way too many sets to. I'd been stuffed, and my brain had been stuffed with different ways of how other different. You watch other directors and how they work, and other writers and how they work, and you just kind of. It's like religion. You learn about them all, and then you take what you want from each, and apply it to your life. And so I've watched different people and how they work, and I've tried to take bits and pieces of their work ethic. Well, I think there was a whole plethora of ghosts to choose from. England has a amazing past, a lot of heroes, a lot of very powerful and charismatic people, but we settled on the 3 ghosts that we chose because we felt like they had kind of quirky sensibilities. I mean, we have Boadicea or Bodica, who wanders around naked throughout our whole program. And then, of course, Lord Nelson over here, Lord Admiral Nelson. I mean, he's missing an arm and an eye, and I mean, how much more quirky can you get? And then Byron, our bisexual poet, who floats around reciting his poetry to anyone who will listen. But they were all very great people in their time, and it only seems to, comes to reason that they would be protectors of England. Oh, I want to go back before time began. That's really, when we were just, little things floating in the Mesozoic. No, no actors. It's much nicer that way. No, I'm kidding. I think it's interesting. You're talking about a time period when people, people weren't primitive anymore, but yet they still, exhibited some of the behaviors of a more primitive, like that's wrong, that's stupid and bad, and I'm going to be quiet now. I don't know why. I don't know why, Rob, why I chose, or why Chris chose to do this period. It is very interesting. You have a lot of cool people inhabiting this time period, and that's why we decided to kind of do a little riff on a little bit of Jane Austen-esque kind of stuff. So. I just hope that our jokes don't fall flat. But I think because the internet is now an international entity, you're going to have people from all over the world checking this website out. So it's not just, we're not gearing this just at like a UK audience. We're gearing this for anybody who's interested in the story. It just happens to take place in England, which I think is really cool because I love the accents and I love the people. So I was excited to be a part of it just because I get to come here and work with everybody at the BBC. But I think that an international audience will appreciate it, hopefully. Oh, I want to be Byron. Um, yeah, be Byron. Byron was the cool one. Byron's got all the good lines. No, that's not actually true. Nelson over here has quite a number of good lines too. In fact, I think our ghosts actually have the most interesting stuff to say. They're very witty and dry, and they all have a good sense of humor. So definitely Byron.